Next, let us take a look at string manipulation. String is used to hold any text. So for example, I have a string x equal to James Dean. If I want to concatenate string, I can do it like this. So this statement will print hello space and then it will concatenate it with James Dean to print out hello James Dean. If I want to convert the string into uppercase, I can say x dot to uppercase. Now like this, there are so many different methods. You can see here, when I say x dot, you have all these methods that you can do with. That is trim, uppercase, like substring and all those things. We will take a look at few of these string methods. X dot to uppercase will convert that particular string into uppercase. So x dot substring of 2 will print everything from the second character. Now what is the second character? Remember, when you have string x equal to James Dean, we'll internally create an array of characters like this. So you have like James Dean, each in their own boxes, and it will label it as x of 0 to x of 9. So when you say x of substring of 2, it will take from the second character, that is x of 2, till the rest of the word. So mes space Dean will be printed. When you say x of substring of 2, 7, then what happens is it will print from the second character up to but not including 7. So it will print mes space and then D, up to but not including 7. So here you can see that mes space D has been printed. X dot char 3 will print out the character at the third position, that is E will be printed. Now sometimes what happens is you may get a number as a string. For example, you have a string age equal to 37, which is basically a string, and then string salary equal to 78,965.83. Now if you have a number as a string, you cannot manipulate it. That is, if I want to divide age by 2, or if I want to multiply age by 2, I cannot do that. So how do I convert a string into a number? Well, we have a concept called wrapper classes. If you want to convert some kind of a string into an integer, this particular age into integer, you can do something like this. You can say integer.parseInt, and then you can pass this particular string. So what this will do is, this particular class called integer will take the string of age 37 and it will convert it into an integer and it will assign it to A. Now this you can divide by 2 if you want to. So here you can see that I am taking this particular salary which has a decimal number and I am converting it into a double number, double.parseDouble. And then I am passing the salary, and then whatever the double value I get, I can multiply with 0.15. I cannot do like divide by 2 here. It will give me an error. It will say that you cannot divide string by 2. But I can convert that particular string age into an integer and then divide it by 2, and I can assign it to A. Or I can say add 2 for this. So now if I run this, you can see that I got 39 as the answer because I have added 2, and I am getting 15% of the particular salary, that is 11,000. So this is called wrapper classes. There is a wrapper class for every primitive data type. Of course, the next question will be like, okay, we saw integer and you just introduced double to us to hold decimal places, and you also showed us a string which holds text. What are the other data types that Java has? Java has 8 primitive data types: byte, short, int, long, float, double, character, boolean. Now out of these, you will be using mainly integer for holding any kind of a whole number. An integer can hold a whole number of this range. If you want to hold any decimal values, you can use a double. And for holding true or false, you can use a boolean. Now string is not a primitive data type, but then use string to hold text values, that is string x equal to hello world or any text values. You will not be using byte, short, and long. You can use long if you have like a really long whole number. And for all decimal places, you can use double instead of a 32-bit float. So once again, you will mostly use integer to hold a whole number, a number without any decimals, or you can use long. And for using decimal, use double. For text, use string. For true or false value, use boolean. Let us do a quick review of all the concepts we have learned till now. Our very first example, we learned how to do a print statement. To print something to the console, you use system.out.println, and then you can put anything within double quotes and it will print it to the console. Same way we learned how to declare numbers like integer x equal to 10, and then we learned how to add numbers or like multiply or the mod. Mod is basically how many times does 3 go in 10. 3 goes in 10 3 times, so the remainder is 1, and the x mod y, it will print out the result as 1. Next we learned about the if statement. We had two numbers x and y. If x is less than y, print out like x is less than y. Else if x is equal to y, print out x is equal to y. Else system.out.println x is greater than y. Then we learned the for statement. A for statement has three parts. First is the initial value, then the condition. The condition must always be true for this for to be executed, and then the incrementer or decrementer. So in this case, I am going to print the initial value of I equal to 10. So it will check, is 10 greater than 0? Yes, it is greater than 0. Then it will go and print out I equal to 10. Then the next time it comes over, it will reduce the value of 10 by 1. I minus minus will decrease the value of 10 by 1. So this one will print from 10 up to 1 but not 0, because it will stop when it comes to 0. Then we saw the concept of while loop. A while loop will first check for the condition and then execute the block of code. So in this case, x equal to 10, as long as 10 is less than 0, it will execute this. In this case, it will not, 10 is not less than 0, so it will not execute. So you can see here, this will not be executed. But if you say as long as 10 is greater than or equal to 0, it will execute, and then here you are incrementing the value of x, or you can decrement the value of x if you want. So you can see that it has printed minus 10, it is 0 less than 0, and then you are incrementing by 2. Then we saw the concept of do while. Do while will first execute the block of code and then it will check for condition. So in this case, here in this case I have x equal to 10, it will execute that x equal to 10, and then it will reduce the value and it will keep looping till the value of x is greater than 0. So the advantage of do while is, even if the condition is false, it will execute this block of code at least once. So that is the difference between while and do while. Next we saw the concept of switch case. We can use like integer, double, or string. From Java 7 we can use string for the switch case. Switch case is like you have some kind of a data like string j equal to 2, and then switch j, it will look for a case that matches this particular string. So case 2, it matches this particular word 2, so this particular block of code value is 2 will be printed, and it will break out of this particular switch case. If you don't have the break, it will fall down to the next case and it will start printing here. If none of the cases match, then the default case will be printed. Then we saw the concept of and or statement. That is, if you have like two conditions and both the conditions have to be true, that means you can use the and. That is, if x is greater than 0 and y is greater than 0, then print both numbers are positive. If either one have to be true, then use the or statement. That is, x is greater than 0 or y is greater than 0, then print out at least one number is positive. We also saw the concept of arrays. So basically, if you have like some kind of a data, same data, and you want to store them, you can use an array. So this is an integer array of a, so which will be used to store an array of integers. It will create boxes and it will put them as a of 0 to a of 4. and you can access those data by saying a of 2 and a of 4. If you want to loop through an array, you can use an enhanced for or a for each loop. You can say like the data type integer, put some temporary variable, colon the name of the array a, and then you can print out temp. You can also declare arrays and then assign values to those particular array boxes. If you don't assign some value, by default it will take 0. And same way you can loop through this particular array too. You can also create string arrays if you want. Here you are creating a string array, and of course while looping through a string array, the data type of this array is string. You put a temporary variable, colon the name of the array, and then it will print out temp. And same thing happens for, you can declare a string array and you can loop through those string array. Of course, if you don't assign any value to a particular box, by default for string array it will be null value. You can also create two-dimensional arrays. Two-dimensional array is a matrix, that is, it will have 4 rows and 3 columns, so you have like two-dimensional array. And you can assign data to two-dimensional arrays like this. You can say like row and column, and you can assign some data. You can use a loop within a loop to assign data or to print a two-dimensional array. Then we also saw the concept of strings, that is how to manipulate strings, how to concatenate strings, use some of the string methods, get the substring and find what are the characters. And we saw the concept of wrapper classes, that is, if you have some data, some number that is as a string, that comes to you as a string, then you can always convert that into a number so that you can manipulate that number.